تمام محمد, are we good to start inshallah?
Yes, inshallah.
طيب.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
طيب, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم, الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق وسيد الأنبياء وإمام المرسلين سيدنا محمد عليه أفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم. Welcome back to Horizon Academy Institute's series on Maqasid Sharia. Inshallah, today we will have a very lively discussion session on a topic that we started on Tuesday, and the topic was on balancing benefit and harm, موازنة المصالح والمفاسد ضمن إطار مقاصد الشريعة, within the context of the objectives of Sharia. So on Tuesday we had a very good discussion, alhamdulillah. We touched on a few important things. We talked about the definition of the balancing process, what it entails. We talked about the principles and rules. And the recording is available on YouTube. So if you haven't had a chance to attend the full lecture, you can inshallah resort to that recording. And inshallah today we will be moving to the application side of this topic, which is a case study on balancing benefit and harm within the context of COVID-19 when it comes to the interests of children, seniors, and businesses. So inshallah we'll start with Muhammad walking us through the topic for today. But I do want to encourage you to take notes as we go through the slides so that you can be prepared to speak to what Muhammad Bilyamin is going to cover. And I do want to encourage you to participate either by raising your hand here on Zoom or just putting a question on the chat. I'll be monitoring that. So if you have any questions, please feel free. At this point, Muhammad Bilyamini, it's all yours. Go ahead.
Thank you, Brother Yasser, for the introduction. So as it was mentioned, inshallah, we'll go through this kind of case study regarding the balancing between benefit and harm when it comes to talk about children, seniors, and businesses in the context of COVID-19. And it's not kind of a dichotomy kind of discussion that we want to tackle here. We want just to look at it and to see how we can decompose what's underneath each one, and how we can kind of see the relationship between them, and how we can question the approaches moving ahead, reconciling the solution, any solution that could come in this context. So just to frame the expectation, we are not bringing this topic in terms of scientific publication. This is not complete kind of case study that you can rely on for any type of benefit in terms of publishing or something like that. It's more about discussion. It's more about triggering the line of thinking that we have to provoke each other and to provoke our system of thinking, and to see maybe both sides. Whenever we are intervening, see both sides, and let's be can feel free to tackle the complexity, to tackle what you agree on and what you're not, and so on. So this is kind of platform to discuss and to speak our minds, and to make it more kind of interactive, so the sharing will be more beneficial. It's not beyond the formality of any discussion. So I will start with a small experiment here. We didn't do it before. I would like all of you just to log into this link, and I would like you just to run 3 questions, and each question will take only 1 minute, and it will be gone. So inshallah, just if you don't mind, I will put it in the chat, so people can just use it. The first question that we have here, once we log in, what comes in your mind when talking about seniors in COVID-19 pandemic? Just put 2, 3 words, 2, 3 entries. Put first word enter, second word enter, 3 word enter, and then we can move on. And you may see that is coming, whatever you are putting as a group, it will be coming here as cloud word, and will be inshallah using it moving forward. So we have 40 seconds left, inshallah, before I move to the next one. So I will be moving to the next one, inshallah, right now. Just I will take kind of picture here. And the next question we have here is what comes in your mind when talking about businesses in the context of COVID-19? So I will be moving to the last one here. Tell me if you can see it, what comes in your mind when talking about children in general, health, development, education in the context of COVID-19? And inshallah, we'll be wrapping up here. We'll be back to the presentation. It was just kind of, it's not statistical, but it's just a representation of what could come in our head talking about those topics. And it will help us moving forward to stimulate our thinking. So what we have here, we're talking about the seniors in terms of vulnerability, which is coming as one of the big ones here. It's coming also in terms of risk and immunity and age, but that's kind of topics that it comes in our head when we are when we start thinking about seniors. When we start talking about the businesses, we are talking about the opportunity, we are talking about the bankruptcy, we are talking about the change strategy, loss, and collapse, shortage, and financial stuff. So, and when it comes here to the children, we're talking mostly about the heart immunity, the mental risk that we have in terms of depression and so on, the social, the boredom. And that's very interesting because it will help us as we're talking about the issues coming from the statistical level to do some linkage there. So that's, I will move a little bit moving forward to present one view. It's meant to be for us to be critical against it. It's not to be promoted. I'm bringing it here in terms of stimulating our view, looking at it and and questioning it. So in terms of the businesses, it's like it was kind of published in terms of situation, the economic situation and the businesses struggle in the COVID-19, that stay-at-home orders forced many non-essential businesses to close. This is one area which we are talking about, the closing kind of the opportunities. And for some is opening opportunities, for some is closing opportunities. We can demand for all types of goods and services overnight. And during the past 8 weeks, 36 million people have filed for jobless benefit, and this is specifically for US. So we need to be considerate when it comes to the amount, when it comes to the impact, when it comes to the balancing. It's like when we talked about the balancing, the benefit by itself, it should be quantifiable in order to be considered, and the small impact is less considered than the bigger impact, at least in terms of the process. And the slowdown has hit some industries harder than others. Some even they are getting some benefit and profiting from the situation. The number of the bankruptcies filing has risen sharply with the little revenue coming in, and according to the data from the American Bankruptcy Institute, it's like we have 26% increase from last year. So this is kind of the bankruptcy, and when we talk about bankruptcy, we are talking about the shortage of the transaction, the shortage of the economic benefit from some social segment in the society. We are talking about the whole system and structure. So just keep that in mind while we are moving ahead, inshallah. When it comes to the children, and this is kind of statistical coming from UNICEF, and they were talking about the Canadian situation. When it comes to the children and the readiness of the market or the society, the Canadian society facing the COVID-19 situation. And that's happening even before COVID-19. And as it was assessed before getting into the bottom of that situation, this crisis, that's the number that we had. So let's imagine, because there are lack of statistical coming along in this type of areas, let's take our thinking to project those numbers when the crises are coming and touching the families. It's 1 in 5 children and youth live in poverty. It's 20%. It's like 10% are lacking internet access when it comes to the children. So how it will help when it comes to the internet and using the internet in order to get access to the schooling or to get access to activities and to move from depression and the boredom and so on. And we know how our kids are consuming the internet in this area. At least I can talk about my kids here. It's 1 in 4, they go to bed hungry, and this is the situation. It's like if now it was the situation before COVID-19, imagine that we have a families, and this project is 36 million as proportionality. Maybe the Canadian market is not the same way as the American market, but for sure there is some impact there. And that impact need to be, if we can think about it, let's think about the hungry people or children at least dealing with the situation of the poverty and the hunger. With the abuse, 25%. It was even in the situation of the abuse. And we talk about COVID-19 and the family situation when the abuse raised dramatically, when all the family and all the members are dealing with the situation to look at each other 24 hours a day, something like that. It's something that is kind of raising even dramatically more than that. It's the depression, and this is kind of related. They are not kind of different or separated phenomena or separated issues. They are related to each other. When there is abuse, when there is hunger, there is depression. When there is poverty, there is and lack of internet, there is boredom, and so on. There are this relationship between those issues and how they are kind of amplifying each other. And the 33% are kind of lacking a situation, and this is in Canada. Let's talk about the other countries. At the age of 15, they are lacking the basic proficiency in reading and math, and this is kind of shocking. So when it comes to the seniors, this is another area where we have a big struggle, and even we have this issue that was revealed three weeks or something like that, especially in Canada, when the military had access to the home of the seniors, and they had access to the situation that they are passing through. It's like the seniors in the situation of COVID-19, when there is no audit, no other companies that provide other supports to make that services with better quality. And here we are not talking about the home seniors as the only business. We are talking about the home senior business as it's dealing with the quality of the services provided to the seniors in the light of the cutting or closing other services, or cutting and closing other businesses. And this is kind of issue here. It's like we're not talking about one side of the business. We are talking about the system of the business and system of the economy. And the numbers here are kind of little bit out of thinking, or it's like it's beyond the way we think about the number of deaths. It's 80% are coming specifically from the care homes, only from the care homes, and this includes the staffs and seniors, because the staff are also dealing to get affected to the virus and so on. So let's look at it from this perspective. 25% of the death are coming from people between 60 and 79, and over 80 years old. We have 80% of death in Canada. So I'm talking about Canada here as statistic. Maybe 3-4 weeks ago, that one. It was by May 15, something like that. So keep in mind those numbers, and I want to look here a little bit further and to see the whole picture and to see the big picture when it comes to this type of issues. Are we focusing and feeling in the emotional reaction? Oh, we have children struggling. Let's battle for the children. Oh, we have the businesses cutting the profit. Let's deal with the business and make them alive again, and so on. And let's find the magic solution, and let's struggle all together to make the business alive, and so on. And this is kind of dilemma that we talked about it at one time when it comes to the bias of polarization in the way you are dealing with the situation. You don't, and this is kind of big bias, at least from the scientific community and the political community in the US. Oh, it is business versus health. Is it the right question? Really? This is the way we want to tackle it? And this is kind of the dilemma that we want to tackle here. We are not coming from the political view to promote specific solution. We are coming to question the way we are approaching the situation. So if we have the government as tackling area of the society, we know that there are some limitation there. We know that there are some limited resources. So there are scarcity of even the resources dealing with that. So there are some we are compromising some priorities there in order to serve in terms of balances between families and businesses, between different segments of the society when it comes to the senior and children and so on. So the government is coming into the picture of this system, helping the businesses at least to keep them alive, because a system without businesses in the long run is the failure of the whole society. System without stability in the family is the crisis about the children, and crisis also about the parents, and even about the seniors if they are related to. And this is kind of situation. So when it comes to the business, we know that the businesses are working in terms of ecosystem. And when it comes to the ecosystem of the businesses, and we are saying that the seniors, they are suffering, is it because only the businesses related directly to them, or is it because of the absence of the other businesses? And we know that the other businesses that they call them non-necessary businesses, they are closing down. They are all the support that the business related to the senior are not getting it anymore. All the audit and the control of the business related to the senior is not there anymore. So we are leaving only one side of the business in the corner to deal in the way they have to deal with, and we start looking, oh, our seniors are really suffering from these businesses that they are making a lot of profit and so on. We know that the economy in the liberated market and the freedom market or whatever, they are this compromise between between businesses. This is how we are tackling the offer and the demand in order to make people move in different ways and to make the services quality more efficient and to make the responsibility coming into the plate as argument of tackling the way we are dealing the business. So in the situation when there is a lack of the whole ecosystem, a lot of collapses could happen. And once we start looking at it, we need to keep it in the picture that this is a system. It's not only the seniors dealing with this nurse that's coming and they are suffering. And this is we need just I want to bring it here. So while we are moving into more deeper discussion, we want to be more kind of critical about the situation and the way it is published in our day-to-day kind of news and stuff. So and same way when it comes to the children are suffering from this hunger, depression, and so on, all the issues, and they are also suffering from the way they are deprived from the education and the access to the social connection with their school and students when it comes to lacking the internet kind of whatever connection, to lacking the way that they can have some more connection with family and so on. It's like it's not only about the education, it's also about the social development, about this psychology stability, about this positive psychology or positive emotion that we talked about it as a system at one point. So if we are minding, we need to mind that the issues are interrelated and maybe the solutions are also interrelated. So just I will move a little bit ahead here. And from the process that Brother Yasser kind of walk us through it last time, it's one of the areas that we need to start from our mind since we are talking about the Maqasid, about talking about the Islam. There is this basic thinking. You start from something it's basic that you are not, it's either you are widening your way to look at the area of the concern, or you are looking if you are not violating any elements on those areas, specifically when it comes to those concepts. It's only the starting point. It's not the end point. So when we're talking about this, this kind of prescription of or the teaching of the Islam, they are coming as starting points. So you know the way you need to extend your benefit and so on. And we talked about it not in terms of legitimate the rational thinking, but more about what is the process that was provided into traditional. So coming to this way or to this starting point, and we want just to have this critical view there. We are talking about businesses in the light of the Quran, and we find in the Quran many areas. I'm not exhaustive here, but I bring whatever I could find. At one point, the businesses, in terms of getting money and getting profit, the Quran is talking about the profit based on the mutual values. That the way you are getting your profit, it should be serving the other people, not on compromising other people. So this is kind of one of the principles that is coming there, and it's basic, and that's just to see, we are all in it, at least as a culture and as civilization and as a human being now in our situation. Looking only after the profit is a trap. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking in many verses that looking after only the profit and the mal, for example, the money, is fitna, so is a trap by itself. So when you're looking at the profit, look at the more beyond that. It's not at the profit as an end, but the profit as a way you are growing and providing your services. Where the profit to fulfill the needs and to serve a cause. Whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about the gaining and having the profit in the tijara or in the trading, in the commerce and in the business and the economy as a whole, is part of it is to take in charge the cause of feeding the poor and the cause of helping the knowledge, because there are many causes, and this is how it is combined. The system, when it comes to this view, it's view based on serving a cause. And there is the fourth items there that I want to highlight when it comes to the business. The profit comes with equitable sharing system. It's like لكي لا يكون دولة بين الأغنياء منكم. So the money should not be kept just restricted to the people that they are richer and richer and richer, and they get fewer and fewer and fewer and so on. So there are some systems that support the profit that comes from this kind of business. So this is kind of a view, and we need just to keep it in mind because may help the way we are looking at the solution as a system. When it comes to the children, we find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking in many areas about the children as a fitna, as a trap and everything. But in many situations, it's talking about to take care of them and get them protected. It's talking about not to be sacrificed. It's just because you are fearing or you are scared from getting from the poverty. Is talking about حتى يبلغ أشده. So they are talking about the system to make people and to make children getting into the level of the maturity and making their own mature decision. So this is to be enabled and developed, educated, and so on. So there are three areas at least that we can talk about them when it comes to the children. When it comes to the seniors, they are is talking at many places. It's a more kind of most of the time is talking about the ihsan bil walidain ihsana and so on. So this walidain is symbol of those people that they are seniors in our society, and taking care of them, their vulnerability, and making it as one of the area of the priority is one of the consideration in the teaching. But also is talking about that the justice takes priority over their satisfaction. That's one of the component that is coming in the Quran when it's talking about the parents. You want to satisfy them and so on. There is a justice that need to be raised. There is justice that they need to be established. So it should not intervene with your process of making justice happen. So just as systemic approach, and we're looking at it from this perspective, we have some basic value that come in mind. We have some connection between different areas here. And we want to mind our decision to promote this polarization, this decision of the polarization, this decision of dichotomy, this decision of the 0 and 1, this decision of dogmatic decision coming from two different extremes. So, and we talk about the business here. When it comes to the system, we're talking about the businesses. They get their profit and they serve the cause within a social system. So what are we doing with the businesses that they are taking the cause as one of their area of the priority? How we can promote them, how we can make it one of the area that to assess the life of the businesses, and how we can look at it, that the way they serve is built on the way they make profit is based on the way they serve the customer. And the way they serve the customer is not related only to their own decision, it's related to the societal system around them. And the societal system, it comes with it all the constraints in the societies. Like they are the audit, they are government, they are the quality of the customer, they are the report that need to be established, and so on. All that ecosystem. So we cannot look at the business in isolation of the ecosystem, in isolation of the societal system. This is one thing when it comes to the business. When it comes to these businesses, they affect family. Impacting the businesses, they affect family. And we know that the family is touching both sides. It's touching the children and seniors that they are not at least in the home caring and stuff. And having that touch to the family, we cannot only overcome it just by relying on the government in the situation where there are some level of calculation in order to make some distribution little bit equitable in the society. So there is a part that needs to be taken by the businesses in specific circumstances in order to make that leverage happen, and to make that process of supporting families at least alive, even in the situation of the COVID-19. So that's part of this situation when we are looking at it. So impacting business affects families and the children's life, health, development, and so on. So when it comes to the seniors, for example, as point of focus, we're looking at the same thing. Just we are looking at it from different facets. It's like the elephant, and you are looking at it from different facets. And now we are looking at the seniors, and without this responsible, effective ecosystem into the business, for sure, the quality of serving the seniors will be affected. There is no consistency. There was some equilibrium before happening as ecosystem. Now you are shutting down many areas and you are relying on the quality to stay the same. And at the same time, you are blaming how you can business, we can make them back alive. It's a little bit this compromise that we need to keep in mind. And just to conclude, just to open the floor for, inshallah, more critical discussion about this content. So the solution doesn't reside in the blind, polarized prioritization. Rather, it is flourishing from the systemic or systemical approach where support, innovation, and integration are in place. So if we are both to find kind of systemic solution for this situation, we need to mind the way we are providing our system of support system. What is the support system and capabilities in the society, and how we can enhance them and build in them? What is the innovation capability we have in the society, and how we can enhance them to make them shareable in the situation of crisis and not? What is the capability of it providing the integration capability? It's like how you can provide it in terms of architecture, at least in terms of society, providing multi-services to multi-segments to multi-views and so on. So this is kind of bring us to question a little bit the system built on it that's become a little bit fragile in the situation of the COVID-19. And we need to mind it, because we are not facing only the COVID-19, we are facing the COVID-19 and 20 and 100 and whatever number it could come in the future. And we need to mind that building those capabilities that make the society more resilient, facing the situation, and not getting into the polarization and the polemic discussion that doesn't help neither the present nor the future.
Jazakallah khair, Muhammad Balyami, for the good, very stimulating questions here about seniors, children, and businesses, and how these three things cannot be separated, and how we have to look at all three within one context, and that is to try to optimize the benefits and minimize the harm. So at this point, I would like to open the floor for comments and discussion. So if anybody has a question, please go ahead now. Noordin, are you asking to comment here?
Jazakallah khairan, Muhammad, for framing the discussion for us here. I wanted to bring, so when we discuss the health of young people, children, and the health of senior in the context of COVID, one question people who are looking after the health components, health dimension, they say that there is no value for the human life. Everything have to be done to save that life. And the question is, what is the human life value? People say, if they say that the value of human cannot be measured, but is that really true? In economics, we know that there are practices. For example, when you talk about the insurance and the actuaria, if you want to buy a life insurance, those who are interested to cover the benefit for their families, there's certain calculation that these insurances do. And here on the right panel of this slide, you see if you are projecting that you're going to live another 15 years, and you have an income of $100,000 a year, and you have some asset of 50,000, then
value of life which need to be insured
is 1.3 million. But if you are predicting to live only 5 years, the value of life is 260,000. So you see how economics put value, although health said there is no value in human life. And also, if you remember early in the pandemic, when Europe was really in trouble, and Italy was overwhelmed, the ICU was overwhelmed, they started talking about who should we save? Should we save the older people, the young people? And so that kind of discussion start questioning and rationalizing who should we save. And and in there there is indirectly the worry about the productivity, hence the economy. And this is not new concept. Back in the 80s, when HIV was rampant and AIDS was killing a lot of people, a discussion then was happening about if we save the child from HIV and they live long enough to be adult and productive, what is the costing of that productivity that we lose if we don't save that child? The other way of valuing the human life outside the health component is, for example, the EPA, which is the Environment Protection Agency in the US, have estimated that if we do good mitigation of environmental hazard, the value in dollar that we save on a US citizen is $9.5 million. So you see here that there is this kind of rationalization, and that human life for some people have value and for other people have no value. We should do whatever it takes to save it. And as you know, a politician, even here in the States, start talking about, well, we have to open the economy, and even some governors have pleaded with the older people to give up on their right to get priority and let the young people who are going to open the economy. And if you recall, also early in the pandemic, they were saying that mainly senior citizens are affected by the succumb to the virus, but and that gave actually the wrong impression to young people, and the young people start saying we need to get out and save the economy, right? Because the senior citizens are too vulnerable. So the pandemic heavy burden, as I said, on senior have created this selfish optimism among younger and healthier people. And this impression has created a push for economic reopening by politicians in defiance of healthcare authority recommendation. And this push is coming at the expense of the continued preventable death of seniors. So we put ourselves in this dichotomy. We save the young or the older, rather than saying and the older, and we don't have to put ourselves on that choice. So COVID-19 has exposed some uncomfortable truth about our society, including how we care for our citizens in Canada. And Mohammed alluded to the deplorable situation on the senior homes and some of the worst conditions that seniors are in at some of the and have the highest debt happen to be for-profit businesses, for-profit term care homes. And for that, we've heard calls here in Canada to end the private provision of long-term care and have the federal government take over that. So a survey was commissioned to see what was the impression of different age brackets on during the COVID season, and so according to Statistics Canada, 6 in 10 seniors say that they are very or extremely worried about their own health, much higher than younger demographic, and seniors are the most concerned about maintaining social ties during the pandemic, because seniors don't want it to be seeing their grandchildren and their children out of fear to get infected. 1/3 of seniors who are over the age of 75 live alone, and that actually brings problems of depression. This increases the higher risk of social isolation, as you see. So the curve there here, if you in the x-axis, you see the ages from left to right increasing, and the percent of the different questions that were asked about whether their risk or whether their social connection. And so you see that participant that is aged 15 to 24 were more likely to report that they were very or extremely concerned about stress from confinement. So young people could not take the fact that they're locked down in their houses. They wanted their freedom. They wanted to go out and do what they do. And so the situation of senior homes is that they're not situation where you are a patient in a hospital and you're surrounded with the best care, and you have nurses and doctors, and you're not like a prisoner, because prisoners, they're confined in prison because they committed a crime, and there's certain human right for them, and certain now this is another bracket that we could have actually talked about here. There's a high prevalence of COVID-19 among prisoners. Now we found that the senior homes are coming between these two. Those who are unstabilized elderly, they're confined. They don't have the mobility. They cannot care for themselves. They cannot fend for themselves. And now we have the healthcare providers who are overwhelmed there. And we have the private management who are not listening to their needs. You know, the nurses in Ontario or Quebec, I don't recall, had to sue the healthcare, the senior home facilities to get access to PPEs, to personal protection. And they refused, and they went to the higher court, and the higher court sided with the nurses. And it's just unbelievable that you have to go to court to assure that. The institutionalized elderly, they're a unique class, as we see here. And so that's just some of the remarks and the comments I'd like to get us to think about. Thank you.
Excellent. Jazakallah khair, Dr. Noordin. Very, very good points. Abdul Wahid, you wanted to comment? Go ahead.
Yes. Yeah, thank you, Brother Muhammad Bilyamani, for your presentation. And from what we heard now from Brother Noordin, I have a few comments. I will try to convey that they are connected. It's between all the data we are learning and gathering now to understand ongoing challenges with this COVID-19 and what will be the outcome, the post-COVID-19. And worldwide, not only Canada or America, everybody is affected by that. So going back to the topic of today, I think that's my point of view. There is a lot of very good analysis, and we can hear that when we follow the news, or we can read very good, great thinkers. But it's very hard to find someone coming with solution, or at least proposing something that could be solving or stabilizing what will be the post-COVID-19 in all aspects of human life, be it in health or economics or socio-economics or even geopolitics. A lot of discussions are there. I want to share two perspectives that maybe could help the post-COVID-19, and where Muslims, among them ourselves, could be humbly coming with some solution. Before going to that, a lot of experts in healthcare and education a few years ago, before COVID-19, they were expecting what will be the healthcare of the future, the higher education, or education in general in the future, and the impact of digital learning in that. And with COVID-19, we are seeing is a lot of catalyzing process going on between businesses, thinking and discussion, negotiating how to deal with the higher education to allow them to benefit from the available and sophisticated IT platform. And now we are just using one of them, Zoom. So going to what, as Muslim, we can do for the post-COVID-19, I want to share two stories where I am involved by myself, related to healthcare and education. Number one is telemedicine. Everybody now is trying to get telemedicine to help the post-COVID-19. And talking about United States, there is a doctor, Moroccan in Utah, who just signed a contract a few days ago, maybe a few weeks ago, with a California-based company. And he will be the first one to bring this telemedicine platform technology from United States to Morocco. They want to tackle the rehab field first, and I'm trying to help them to have it available for the whole medicine, not only for Morocco, for the Africa, serving humankind, and of course also Muslims, citizens in whole Africa. Second one is my contacts with a few people in Canada. We are pitching on formal way the biggest generic company in Quebec state, and we are inviting them to think very carefully how we can build with them a generic manufacturing plant in Morocco, And why not to choose some of the COVID-related diagnostic or medications? So as Brother Muhammad said, there is a lot of opportunities, but there is a lot of opportunities and benefit where some academics or Muslim experts can help and have some words and saying of helping humankind, including Muslims communities. So it's good. I think that a lot of Muslims have the ability to well analyze, understand what's going on, but I hope that Muslims also be among the people who come with some solution. And we saw also the Moroccan guy who was hired by Trump to help Monsef Slawi, for example. He was well respected, and he's doing his best to advance the process. So I think in Horizon there are a lot of people in computer science, a lot of people in different fields. Maybe some of the discussion will be how we can gather on connections and know-how and background to come with some solution to help with the post-COVID-19 pandemic and challenges in general.
Excellent point, Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much for the very good points here. Any other comments or responses to what you've heard so far from Brother Waqar? Go ahead, please.
Assalamu alaikum. Fantastic presentation, and also from Brother Nuruddin and Mustafa.
Yeah.
Jazakallah khair. All of you had very, very good points to mention, and some of the points that come to my mind, I'm going to talk more on the individual level. Mashallah, it's good that this is while it is also a negative scenario that we are going through, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created good with bad and bad with good. With every ailment there's a cure, and with every problem there's a solution. So while we're going through this negative scenario, I believe there's a positive side to it, and of course preservation of life comes above everything else. And that's one of the reasons why most businesses have suffered, because people couldn't go out and, because of social distancing and so on and so forth. But this also is, and a lot of people, millions of people lost their jobs and everything. So in my observation, people are forced to break the prison of their mind for status quo. So we are all in this, in our minds, we have a certain level of status quo of different aspects, like how to earn money. Jobbers are always jobbers. They always think in terms of job. Oh, my job is gone. I need another job, right? But there's so many millions of people who are out of job now. How would you make your money? So they have to break that prison in their mind and think about other ways of making money. Okay, so while businesses are gone down, which are non-essential businesses, a lot of people who are forced to move towards business in other ways to make money, which is a good thing, because I believe it's also the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and also the sunnah of the Ashar al-Bashara. They were all businessmen, okay, and I believe, I cannot quote directly, but a lot of, exactly, Brother Nuruddin. So when we break that barrier and create businesses, we also create jobs at the other end, right? So there is a hadith, I can't quote directly, but the crux of the gist of that hadith is that 9 parts of rizq is in business and 1 part in slavery. Okay, and back then, slavery was, if you own a slave, you have to feed him as what you feed yourself. You have to clothe him how you clothe yourself, and you have to pay him for his efforts. So in today's world, job is less than that slavery, because your boss wears better, eats better, drives better, lives better. Okay, but he owns you for those 8 to 10 hours of your life. So when we break that barrier, we are forced to look outside our current options of jobs, which don't exist anymore, and look into businesses. And I feel that this is a great opportunity for Muslims to revive that sunnah. Okay, I know it's a struggle, and it will be a struggle, because the mindset of a job is completely different from a mindset of a businessman. And so that shift will take time. Some will succeed, some will fail, and some won't succeed, become jobbers for those who do succeed. Whatever the case, it will balance out eventually, inshallah. But on the other hand, I also see an opportunity on the healthcare sector where we are exceedingly reliant on we're exceedingly reliant on the pharmaceuticals and the current medical system to help us in the medical field. While it's good, it has its uses, but on the other hand, I think this is a lot of people are going towards the medicine of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The people who are reporting that they're taking nigella seeds, or kalonji, as we call it in Urdu and Hindi, they're using that to cure themselves of different ailments, and some even claim that they're getting better from COVID for that. So I'm not going. I know we have doctors on this forum, but I'm just saying what I've heard and what I've even among the family members. There are other means of fighting these diseases. So that revival is also there, where the opportunity of dawah through health, through business, through other forms of scenarios that are emerging from the current economy, the current scenario. I see that as a balance in its own self, and of course, exactly, balancing between traditional and alternate medicine. Thank you, Brother Nuruddin. I'm struggling for words and you're helping me out. Jazakallah khair.
He can read your mind, that's why.
He's amazing. MashaAllah, he's
very,
amazing.
very good points, mashallah, Brother Waqar. And I agree with you that this has been one of the greatest challenges in our lifetime, and with it comes a lot of opportunities that we really need to seize, right? Because
exactly,
I agree. I mean, as a Muslim community, we are very drawn towards the 9-to-5 kind of jobs, because we're all engineers and doctors, and we come prepared with these degrees from our back home, and then we try to thrive for in these kind of jobs, whereas there are all these missed opportunities to actually have your own business, work from home, have flexible hours, and contribute to the economy in different ways. I also like your point about challenging the how the economy is being run, right? I mean, in general, we need more and more of these micro businesses rather than these mega companies. The state of capitalism these days is very, very threatening to humanity in general. And I guess that I'm going to take that point and ask Muhammad Bilyamani and everybody else a question about this point, because people are they look at what has been presented today, and some people might argue that when we start talking about balancing all of these things together, we're reducing the complexity of the global economic system, especially capitalism in its current state and form these days. How can we ever do that? Any comments on that? Like, how do we have a very simplistic view of what's going on to say that we can balance all the needs of the seniors and the children and the businesses without any compromise?
Can I share one comment about the finance and what could be done? I was privileged to have as a friend, he died 2 years ago, one of the founder of Islamic financing worldwide, as he is the founder of the Mecca of Islamic financing worldwide, established in Malaysia. He lives like 30 minutes from home here. He was based in Connecticut, amazing Muslim from Pakistan. Professor Dr. Awan, amazing. At 30 years of the age, he was the Dean of Business School at Clark University. He was a chairman of public Nasdaq company, etc. When he was still young in academia, he was telling me that he went to meet with the Al Saud kings and advised them to start Islamic finance banking. And they were laughing at him. They were telling him, we have Goldman Sachs, we have Merrill Lynch, why we should think about creating a new banking. So, mashallah, he did it, and he did a lot of beautiful things. And the university he started is still #1 worldwide. Second one is the Dr. Yahya from Egypt. He's maybe 80 years now. He's in California, and he started La Riba Bank. I am in touch with him by email and by phone. And I proposed to Brother Nordin to invite him one day to give us a talk about his experience. You can see a lot of YouTubes. So maybe helping others to spread the Islamic finance banking in North America may be one of the good solutions where we can work with the people who did it before. And Dr. Yahya is still alive, and he is very available, well-speaking guy. And amazing, he did his PhD here in the United States, and he decided to do MBA at Georgetown University just to understand about Islamic financing.
Excellent, thank you. Jazakallah khair. So Nordin is responding to my comment saying I'm talking about the irony of the or versus the and, right? And that's exactly what I'm talking about. So I would like someone to comment on this, because it is true that that you know I mean and is better than or, but is and possible, right? That is the real question.
Just how can I go?
Go ahead, go ahead, Mohammed.
Yeah. So just I'm questioning the question in terms of is it not that the reality? I mean, it's not something we are proposing, because here we are coming from the framework of the capitalism. We are not even challenging the capitalism as is. We are saying, oh, the capitalism, it works in the ecosystem, right? The capitalism, it works in the theory of constraint. It doesn't work in outside this theory. It's like you need the theory of constraint to make the capitalism working. And this theory of constraint, it comes within an ecosystem. So don't mislead and waste our time talking about dichotomy. So this is kind of the proposal as it's coming. We know that by fact, the companies and the businesses, they are coming, they are successful because there is an ecosystem. And without that ecosystem, they are not providing either the quality value, or they are just short in having the right resource, or just short in making the profit. And then they start collapsing. And then the bankruptcy start getting into this body of the business. So just recognizing, we want just to make, no, please don't jump to the conclusion of idealistic approach and to go to the ground. We are in the capitalism system. We are not even challenging it here. If we want to challenge it here, we need to look at the view that I tried to put from the Quran, and to start questioning the business in terms of their cause, and start a business in terms of the system that support the sharing of their profit. Not in terms of socialism. I'm not talking about socialism. I don't even believe in it. I'm talking about this hierarchy of the competence. So the people that they are more competent, they are getting more. That's normal, because this is how people, they get incentive, and they provide more, and they innovate more, and they move more, but not beyond the hierarchy of the competence. We don't want some other hierarchies intervening in our system to make it corrupted. So going back to the essence of the ethical values, when there are some hierarchy of the competence, there are some values, there are some profits, and you have a cause, and you have a system that supports sharing that cause. So we don't need to dream the solution outside that system. That system, if you want it to bring solution, you need to bring it as ecosystem. You need to bring it as for multi-facet. Just bringing the cause of the seniors on the top of everything, it will not work. We are just dreaming. Or bringing only the child as the cause of everything, it will not work. It's just it's a system, and it's balanced, and it's auto-connected. And minding this system, you need just to be a little bit wiser, not to jump as the politics are doing. Oh, the science and health versus the business. Really, this is the question. It's not ever like that. It's not ever, that's not ever like that. It's working in the ground. It's like why we are bringing that much articles, that much studies, and we see the Fox News are promoting the business because the business is the solution. It's like we don't care about other values. And the other one, the CBS or CNSS, whatever, they are providing all the health over the business. And now we need only the government to take control of everything. Are you providing the tyranny of the authority? What are you providing there? Just we need to mind this complexity a little bit so we can push for something that is in the long run beneficial and have a mind to build the capability of the innovation, the capability of system of sharing and support, the capability of the integration and the sustainability. Those are goals. Those are the big questions that maybe I see more priority to bring into the plate instead or rather just to bring this kind of dichotomy.
So Jazakallah khair, brother Abdul Wahid was asking if you have any propositions to share, but I'm gonna park that question just for a little bit. We'll hear back from Dr. Noordin, and then we'll come back to Muhammad again. If you have any concrete action and propositions that you would like to share with us, Dr. Noordin, go ahead.
As I was driving today between Alberta and Saskatoon, we stopped in a small town just looking for to relieve ourselves, and everybody is locked. They don't give you access. Then I see this business called Home Care something. So I say, well, we need to have access to your bathrooms. She said, sure. And I start talking to her. I said, what business is this you guys doing? She said, this is Home Care. So what they're doing, they actually bring in the care to senior citizens to their houses, rather than them going to senior homes. And this lady, her mother was a nurse and started this business. And this is actually, when we would talk about the irony of the ore, we have to use our imagination. And the toolbox, as Stephen Covey talked about, the toolbox, one key tool in the toolbox is our imagination. We tend to not use our imagination. And of course, we keep getting stuck in the dichotomy. We want oil and gas or environment. And we're like butting heads, right? And so then people like this lady, this nurse who works in hospitals and who works in both in senior homes, came up with the idea: keep them in their houses, but bring them the care.
Okay, that's excellent. And Brother Waqar here is saying that one solution could be to have a compassionate capitalism. So you make money and you share, and you help people make money, right? So yeah, that's an excellent point as well.
If I may elaborate on that a little bit.
Go ahead, please. Yeah.
First of all, this economy has actually created more person-to-person economy are now flourishing. And one way that I understand of compassionate capitalism is that if you help somebody else make significant amount of money, only then you make significant amount of money. And so it is your self-interest to help the other person make money. And that is like a win-win situation. Okay, and in the long run, what that will relate to is that you will have less dependency on loans or getting mortgages and stuff like that, and you will have less dependency on government. You have less, and you will have more control, because if the government doesn't control you, then you start to control the government and bring about a better change. And some of these businesses that I know of that are doing in this are working in this scenario. They're usually working with the FMCG product line, where whether the economy is up or down, you still need those things. Okay, and they provide better value than you can find in the market. Mm-hmm. Okay, and they're more geared towards adding value to people rather than taking value from them. And when you have businesses like that, and if you copy such businesses and replicate such businesses or get involved in those businesses, whatever the case may be, that helps a lot. But having said that, I think this is an opportunity where Muslims need to go towards business again, and it is an opportunity for the rest of the Muslim community to support them. My experience with entrepreneurship is that when I'm doing business with non-Muslims, I get more support. But when I try to do business with my community, what happens is that they expect me to give them for free, and they expect me to give them twice. So they want to get everything, but they don't want to support me, and they'll rather go and buy from a non-Muslim, okay, because he trusts him more than he trusts a Muslim brother. And which is strange. Like, I think we need to change that mindset and start, collaborating with each other. And this is my theory. It's just a theory based on my analysis. It's not any fact yet, because yet to be proven, that if Muslims start to support each other in terms of business or clinics or whatever you may be, or even giving each other jobs more, we would be very little affected by any recession.
Yeah, so create our own support network and to support each other.
Our own ecosystem, our own economic ecosystem.
Yeah. I see what you mean. Jazakallah khair for elaborating on that point on compassionate capitalism. That's very interesting thoughts there. Brother Abdullah, do you want to say something?
Yeah, very, very shortly. I want just to go back to Dr. Yahya, who is the first one to start Islamic bank finance in America. He has branches all over 50 states, and he opened branches in ex-Russian countries. So this person, mashallah, very humble, very educated, and he's doing great jobs. Number two elements, I had the privilege to get 2 printed books from Harvard Law School about Islamic financing, but the head of Harvard Law School Islamic financing is from Bangladesh. I think he was hired a few years ago by Qatar Foundation, but I know him, I met with him. So like at Horizon Academy or our growing Muslim community, we have to be in touch with great people who their names in Islamic financing is heard. Because when they start explaining to me how things work and what they did, all the picky questions you can think about, they went through all of that. And they understand very well the capitalism banking systems. And second point I want to make here, I don't know if you know that, the owner of the 3rd biggest generics company in the world, called Cipla in India. He's a Muslim. His first name is Yusuf. So imagine one day Horizon Academy will invite Brother Yusuf. I'm talking about the 3rd biggest generic company worldwide. And maybe some of your community convince him to have a joint venture for Muslims to start a generic company. We are dealing now with the biggest Jewish family owning the biggest generics company in Quebec State. We're talking about a family making hundreds of $millions revenue a year.
Yeah.
So,
at some point, Brother Abdulwahid, I just wanted to make sure we don't miss this point. Would you be able to share some of these names here on the chat so that people
yes,
so that people can follow up and maybe get the book?
Yeah. So mashallah, we have connection with some Muslims who are playing very big in healthcare and educations. And time to time try to invite them in Horizons so they will know you more, and maybe some spark of brainstorming idea, inshallah, will allow some good businesses related to healthcare or academia or name it. Why not on the soul? Canada is a fertile land, and I used to go a lot to Quebec States and meet with the people. I never, as I said before, went to the west of Canada. But the same thing here. We have good connection with even Americans, Christians, etc., with Washington, D.C. So why not invite them? I call them the friends of Muslims. And they are very rational. And if you convince them with a win-win solution, not only for our community, for the whole citizens here, they will be more than willing to help and to collaborate. And we can learn.
Any solution has to provide value to the wider community. It's not going to be sustainable otherwise. We live in a bigger world than just our bubble. So we need to. Any solution that we provide should provide value to everybody around us as well. So no, those are excellent points. Muhammad Al-Yamani, did you want to add anything to
just one small comment.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Brother Abdul Wahid elaborated on a good part of this type of involvement and kind of path to get out from the status quo that we are dealing with as a Muslim and as mindset at least. And because it is a system, Brother Yahya or Brother Waqar is brought kind of a good point from entrepreneurial point of view, how you can tackle the situation by providing kind of these microservices in terms of technology. Here I'm talking about those microservices from the business perspective. I'm struggling a little bit on building our own ecosystem. That's a little bit, I see it, maybe it's questionable, but this is not the point that I want to tackle here. We need to open ourselves in equitable manner so our community raise to the standard of the situation and maybe lead the standard of the situation. We don't want to get back to our community to go back to our lower standard where we are struggling. People, they are not supporting you, as you said, Waqar, and they will never do that until you get them challenged in the standard they are working with, until you are getting them challenged in the mindset they are using, until you get them challenged in the level of the hierarchy of the competence they have in mind. And this is you are challenging their background in the way we can save the economy from the silos communities to something more open, where we find ourselves as identity meeting the competency, meeting the value. That's what will distinguish us. We will not distinguish that we are Muslim or not. We distinguish us if we are providing that value and that. Just besides, sorry, I didn't mean to.
I know that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. So you're saying don't drag the Muslim community into an ecosystem that is inferior, but rather challenge them to stand up and offer services and things that compete enough to be able to so Brother Waqar agrees with you here, and I think that's kind of also what he was
I want just one small comment. Sorry, I want to highlight it here. This is a system, and the system is started by challenging our perception and our culture or our values. That's from the starting point as individual. So the starting point as individual, we are looking at the businesses from the lens of the value and from the lens of the cause they are serving. And this is need to be brought back to our way we are resisting the economy and we are resisting the capitalism. Not to reject the capitalism, but to make some better system that add value from and this reconciled with our system of value from where we are coming. So we are coming from some system of value, thus highlighting and concretizing this perspective in terms of action. What are the businesses that are serving a cause? What are the businesses that are doing some level of activism? And we need to be critical. Sometimes we will miss Nike is doing good activism as a branding right now and so on. Maybe it needs to be embraced. Maybe it needs to be approached with critical. Maybe it needs to be rejected. But that's fine. As long as we have this mindset, we are making steps. So in the way we are bringing our way we dealing with the business, for they are stopping all their businesses, for example, of the cars, and they are calling the history of Ford in the beginning, and they are saying we are American by essence. So it's not the car that distinguish us, it's to serve the people that distinguish us. And they stop the cars and they start producing the whatever, the ventilators and all those equipment related to this COVID-19 or whatever. Is it something to approach with critical? Yes. Is it something to consider? That's the lens that we need to change as actor in the society. And this is another side that we take part of it. It's not we are not only building our business and our finance in parallel world, we are even acting in the shared economy as actors, regardless if we are, because we have system of value and so on. Are we pushing to amplify this discussion of dichotomy, or are we coming as a reconciliation? please leave the system of the business coming along in order to make that equilibrium. Because the best thing happened to the senior when you have this equilibrium. You cannot deal with it just by leaving it this way, and you are cutting this side and you are cutting this side and you are relying on one thing to get better by itself. You will not. So this is kind of action in the urgent way and some action in the system of a value. Brother Abdul Wahid bring up some other action in terms of capability of the community. Thank you, Brother Waqar, bringing some action in terms of empowering the individuals to take in charge of their potential and the competence to move on. And yeah, I think it's a system of things that should happen. Thanks.
Excellent. I think we've reached our time here at 7:59. And I want to take this opportunity to thank everybody who participated today, whether you were just a listener paying close attention to what's being discussed, or whether you've had something to say here. Thank you very much for joining us today. And thank you, Jazakallah khair, Brother Abdul Wahid, for also listing here a list of names. And also I see a link to a YouTube video from Brother Waqar. So this has been a very lively discussion, and I benefited quite a bit from it today, and I hope that everybody here did the same. Jazakumullah khair, and we'll see you next week, inshallah.
Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.